Now at 6, Governor Evers' proposed budget could mean changes to state education funding. What officials are saying in response.
And a Sauk County board supervisor is facing 5 felony charges for possession of child pornography. Why he hasn't been arrested yet.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now at 6.
Thank you for joining us tonight. Education groups are applauding Governor Evers' plan to increase K-12 funding by more than $1 billion.
But the question is, will his plan pass the Republican-controlled legislature? Rose Schmidt joins us to explain where the money would be directed. Rose?
That's right. Well, Governor Evers' budget proposes several controversial changes to K-12 education. After giving his budget address last night, we now know it would not only increase the amount of funding, but also change the way that money is distributed to schools.
Governor Tony Evers is touting his budget's education provisions as he heads across the state Friday.
We had a budget last night and talked a lot about education and the things that we can do better in the state.
As the former state superintendent, it's no surprise the plan provides $1.4 billion more for K-12 education in programs where the state's Association of School Boards says districts could use it.
The areas of special education, of English language learners, of mental health are areas where I think there's widespread agreement that more resources are needed.
The $600 million proposed for special education is one of the largest impacts, but one where Republican leaders have raised concerns.
The problem in Tony Evers' budget is it just spends too much.
Speaker Robin Vos calls tax increases of any kind a non-starter, something Evers responded to at an elementary school near Racine.
At the end of the day, what we do know is that people of the state have asked for some really important things, and they, frankly, some of them cost money.
High poverty and rural districts would get more money under the changes Evers wants to make to the school funding formula. The plan would also allow districts to raise money locally without going to referendum, something they haven't been able to do for a while.
Ever since the revenue limits were frozen in 2014-15, the only way for a school district to raise more money from its local residents is to go to referendum.
Evers says he's looking forward to talking to state lawmakers to make these things happen, but the question now is, will they?
Republican leaders plan to craft their own budget and aren't saying which, if any, of Evers' plans they plan to include. That leads us to our next question, which is, will the budget be finished on time? Governor Evers says he wants to have it passed by that July 1st deadline, but who knows if that will happen.
We shall see. Rose Schmidt reporting. Rose, thank you. Now, another hot topic during last night's budget unveiling, a new tax possibly on gasoline.
The Department of Transportation is introducing an 8-cent tax on gas. Rock County reporter Adam Duxter spoke with DOT Secretary Designee Craig Thompson today and joins us now with more. Adam?
Well, Eric and Charlotte, there's been a fair amount of pushback on this proposal so far, but Thompson says this is something the state of Wisconsin can't ignore any longer, and that a tax on gas is necessary to improve the state's roads. He says an 8-cent tax would cost drivers an average of $3 per month, but people I spoke with today say they're sick of new taxes and don't support this one. Thompson says he understands that, but says this is a necessity.
I understand it. There should be natural resistance when we talk about raising a fee or a tax, and people should have to look at it. But I think when you look at the value proposition of what we're setting forth to do, increasing money that's going back to the locals and putting money into our current state highways to get them in better repair, I think that $3 a month is a pretty reasonable value proposition.
Now, this proposal still needs to be voted on, and I spoke to drivers at a gas station in Janesville today. Some said that, yes, you need to do whatever you can to improve the state's roads, while others says this is something the state should already have budgeted already. You'll hear from all those drivers tonight at 10.
Adam, thank you.
Madison Mayor Paul Soglin is reacting to the governor's budget proposal, saying it brings fairness to the state and will benefit the city. He says he's happy the Madison School District will see more funding, but the benefit he called more robust would be money from the general transportation aid to help city roads.
We're going to begin to undo the harm that has been done to organized labor. As you know, we've put in the budget a repeal to right to work, which obviously is anything but.
He also said Madison could expect to see a $1.7 million increase in 2020 because of general transit aids, which is money that goes specifically toward transit options like buses or trolleys. Mayor Soglin says he'd use that extra money to replace city buses. March has arrived and it will start cold. Your first alert forecast, Chief Meteorologist Gary Canalti.
We'll also have some snow in the forecast as well, especially for tonight. As we start out by taking a look at Doppler track, you can see some light snow moving through much of Wisconsin, a little heavier snow up toward the La Crosse area. In fact, you can see the snow overspreading much of southern Wisconsin, but it's moving pretty quickly. Visibilities right now at or above 10 miles from Madison southward, 7 miles in the Dells, 3 miles at Camp Douglas, only 3/4 of a mile in La Crosse. Last hour, they were down to a 1/4 mile visibility in a burst of heavier snow. So the heavier snow clearly heading towards central Wisconsin. Winter weather advisories are in effect there until midnight, including Juneau and Adams counties. Expected snowfall generally about 1 to 3 inches, an inch through much of that area, but about 2 to 3 inches farther to the north and west of the Dells over toward La Crosse and up toward Eau Claire. Low temperatures last night where the skies cleared out were in the single digits and teens below zero in central Wisconsin. Cloud cover here in southern Wisconsin kept our temperatures up into the upper teens. Highs today were right around the 30-degree mark, and current temperatures are just below that in the upper 20s to around 30 degrees. By tomorrow morning, I expect those temperatures to be down into the middle teens as the light snow ends shortly after midnight. Tomorrow, look for partly sunny skies or high temperature topping out at 25. That's your News 3 Now First Alert weather.
Thank you, Gary. Madison police say they've finished their investigation into an alleged incident at a middle school. The Madison Metropolitan School District placed acting principal of Whitehorse Middle School on leave last month after a student said he pushed her and tore out 3 of her braids. Police say they've handed their investigation over to the Dane County District Attorney's Office, where it is currently under review. The incident prompted Black community leaders to host a community meeting and the MMSD superintendent to send a letter to parents saying the district planned to launch a new system for staff and students to report incidents of racism or discrimination. There is a warrant out for the arrest of longtime Sauk County Board member Bill Wenzel.
Wenzel is being charged with 5 counts of possession of child pornography after investigators say they found videos on his laptop. Now, we want to warn you, there are very graphic and disturbing details in this case. We ask you to listen with discretion. Jamie Perez joins us now with some of the details listed in the criminal complaint. Jamie?
So a lot of these details were not immediately available when we first reported this last night. The Baraboo News-Republic stated that prosecutors asked the judge to seal the criminal complaint until Wenzel was arrested. Well, Wenzel still is not in custody, but that complaint was released to us this morning, and what we found some of you may find disturbing. For more than 20 years, Bill Wenzel has served on the Sauk County Board.
His constituents have elected him continuously during all of that time.
Peter Vedro is the Sauk County Board chair. He's known Wenzel for 5 years, saying he hasn't noticed anything about him that would raise red flags otherwise.
Do these charges surprise you?
Absolutely. I think they surprise everyone. As I've noted, such behavior is totally unacceptable, deplorable, and can never be condoned.
According to the criminal complaint, Wenzel is being charged with 5 counts of possessing child porn. The details are disturbing. One account describes a girl performing a sex act on a dog. Another describes a man instructing a dog to perform sex acts on a girl.
These are serious allegations and charges.
Investigators conducted a search warrant of Wenzel's home where they found these videos on a computer linked to his IP address. Peter Vedro says despite his feelings about the charges, Wenzel still has the right to serve on the board.
We are fortunate to have a system of justice which indicates innocence until proven guilty. And I think that's important to note. If proven, then a supervisor would no longer be able to hold office. The ethical interpretation of how to move forward will certainly be up to Supervisor Wenzel to make determinations of what he believes is best both for himself and in terms of his capacities as a supervisor for the county.
Now, each of the 5 counts that Wenzel faces includes a fine of no more than $100,000 and or imprisonment of no more than 25 years. I did speak with Wenzel's attorney about an hour ago. He says Wenzel is in New Orleans on vacation and they are working with prosecutors to arrange a voluntary appearance in court in the next few days. He said it's complicated by the fact that they have to wait to be assigned to a judge who can hear it. In the meantime, there is a warrant out for Wenzel's arrest.
All right, Jamie Perez reporting. Jamie, thank you.
Coming up next on News 3 Now at 6, this winter has been especially brutal for many in Wisconsin.
And farmers are already really feeling the impact. Next, how heavy snow and extreme cold is putting them in a very tough spot. Stay with us.
Wisconsin farmers are already dealing with low commodity prices that make staying afloat difficult. Add a winter like this into the mix and it feels like one problem after another.
A rural mutual insurance company alone says it's received hundreds of damage reports from farmers just from February. Our Madison O'Neill with more from Belleville.
From loss of livestock to roof collapses, this winter has really been piling it on for many Wisconsin farmers.
You have to be optimistic, otherwise it's not the business for you.
For Mark Fay, farming is more than a business.
It's kind of our life.
It's something he does alongside his brother and dad.
So it's nice when you're working with family.
But it's easy to lose sight of optimism when everything's covered in snow and ice.
You know, we don't get paid for moving snow around here, but it has to be done. So every snow, we've got 3-4 hours where we've got multiple machines running to clean the whole area. It just adds up.
It just adds up.
And 2 of the trusses just broke.
Like roof damage on this building from a pileup of heavy snow and rain.
It's just more stuff thrown on your shoulders.
If that had happened to a barn with animals.
I don't want to think about it.
And while Fay's 1,300 cattle fared just fine in this winter's extreme cold.
It bothered us a lot more than it bothered them.
You can't always say the same about machinery.
Equipment's not made to run when it's super, super cold.
All of that on top of low milk prices weighing down farmers.
Even if you're doing a super good job, your margins are razor thin.
So with a winter like this one, it can feel like things are snowballing.
It adds to it because there's so much frustration from the financial side to begin with. And then, yes, you throw in the snow and the ice, everything that goes along with this winter. It gets frustrating some days, and that's where it helps to have family.
There it is, that optimism.
We just need a little bit more financially because then all this isn't such a big deal.
Even deep under the snow, you can still find hope here on the Fay family farm, alive and well this winter.
It makes for longer days right now, but you know spring's coming.
In Belleville.
It better be.
Madison O'Neill, News 3 Now.
Fahey is hopeful his insurance will cover his building's damage. Agriculture officials are urging farmers to report any losses they might have to their local farm service agency. So far, farmers and agents say many storm-damaged farms are to the north of the city of Madison. While many of us are wishing for spring and summer, we're probably not looking forward to the mosquitoes.
Why experts say the extreme cold won't change much for bugs this summer.
And Gary will be back shortly with a look at your First Alert forecast.
This winter's extreme cold canceled classes, shut down entire campuses, but one thing it has not impacted, the amount of bugs we'll see once things warm up. The cold weather hasn't killed off stink bugs, and it likely won't affect how many bees, ants, ticks, and the ever-popular mosquitoes we see come summer. That's because all the snow we've been getting has created a layer of insulation on the ground that protects insects from the cold. Most bugs that live here in Wisconsin have adapted to our weather. They're used to the cold, even extreme record-breaking conditions, and some species like mosquitoes even thrive in this snowy weather. The cold isn't likely to affect butterfly or firefly populations.
Insects in general play a lot of really important roles both for us and for the environment. Insects serve as a base of a lot of food webs, so reptiles and fish and birds rely on insects as a food source. If all the insects disappeared, those animals wouldn't have things to eat.
Let's go to Chief Meteorologist Gary Canulty, who has a look at our first alert forecast as we head for the weekend, and we start the month of March. Gary.
Well, you know, we start off cold, and we're talking about insects already. You know, the other problem, too, is, you know, once all this snow melts, there's going to be a lot of standing water around as we head later on into the spring, and that could also be a problem as far as insects are concerned because they need a lot of water to exist. Well, tonight it's not water, it's snow that's falling from the sky. Most of the heavier snow is up to the north into central Wisconsin. Here in southern Wisconsin, just seeing some light snow and flurries. Haven't even seen any flakes in the backyard yet, but if you take a look at visibilities, you can see that they're lowest over northern and central Wisconsin. La Crosse had a quarter-mile visibility about an hour and a half ago in heavy snow, but now they're even improved to 2.5 miles, and you can see through southern Wisconsin visibilities pretty much close to 10 miles. There are winter weather advisories until midnight for Juneau and Adams counties, as well as much of central and northern Wisconsin back into eastern Minnesota. Those areas could see anywhere from about 2 to 3 inches of snow. Elsewhere, about an inch of snow expected over much of Wisconsin. Lesser amounts down toward the Illinois state line or south of there, where less than an inch of snow is expected. And then another weather system on Sunday will stay to our south, bringing some accumulating snow to central and southern Illinois. We'll just get a few flurries from that. But the cold, we're not going to miss. This is starting early on Sunday morning. Wind chill future track. See wind chills starting out in the teens below zero. By Monday morning, they could be down to around 30 below zero. Tuesday morning, probably in the 20s below zero. And even on Wednesday morning, could see wind chills down to between about 15 and 20 below zero before daytime high temperatures climb up into the 20s and the wind chills get above zero. So we have alert days in the forecast for Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday for that bitterly cold Arctic air. Daytime high temperatures in the single digits to the teens. That's about 30 degrees below average. Live view from the Edgewater Skycam in downtown Madison. Not seeing any flakes of snow there either, but as we check out the almanac for today, our high temperature 30 degrees, a little closer to the average high of 36, but still not there yet. Low temperature of 19, right about where we should be. And right now we're sitting at 28 degrees with mostly cloudy skies. Winds are out of the northeast at 9 miles per hour. The jet stream right now moving in off the Pacific Ocean, a big storm system off the west coast. That will head northward into Canada and dislodge some of the cold air and then drop it southward into our part of the Midwest as we head into the early part of next week. So in the short term, we have this little weather system moving through with some light snow, but the coldest air is located just north of the U.S.-Canadian border. Temperatures right now teens and 20s in our part of the Midwest, some 30s to the south, but just off the map up to the north, we're seeing those temperatures well below zero. And on future track, you can see our weather system moving through tonight. We'll be back to partly sunny skies for tomorrow. That next weather system, as I mentioned, on Sunday, taking a more southerly track, and it'll be a fairly strong storm system, but it will be followed by the bitterly cold air by the early part of next week. So our forecast includes that winter weather advisory for Juneau and Adams counties until midnight tonight. Look for a low temperature of 16, light snow and flurries mainly this evening, and then that should end later on tonight. For tomorrow, look for a high of 25 with partly sunny skies, so a slightly colder day than today. As we check out future track, that light snow heading off to the east later tonight. Skies will turn partly cloudy by morning with lows in the mid-teens. High temperatures tomorrow generally in the middle 20s with partly sunny skies. Tomorrow night, look for temperatures to drop into the single digits above zero. Wind chills could be close to about 15 below zero in the morning. High temperatures on Sunday only in the teens. About 1 to 3 inches of snow over southern Wisconsin. And that 10-day forecast calls for a warm-up at the end of next week with some snow chances toward the end of the following weekend.
Well, it is one of the busiest weekends on the high school sports calendar. We've got highlights from the girls' hockey semifinals. That's next in sports. Well, it is one of the busiest weekends in the year of high school sports. Just a note, if you are going to any of the high school championships this weekend or to the Badgers basketball, men's hockey, or women's hockey games tomorrow, give yourself plenty of time because all of those events are going on within hours of each other. We start with the semifinals in boys hockey. 4th seeded Verona taking on top-seeded University School of Milwaukee. This one's starting about an hour and a half late due to the 5 overtime game before it. Right now, Verona's down to 1-0 in the second period. We'll have highlights tonight at 10. Well, earlier today, the Cap City Cougars against the Fox Cities Stars, representing the Appleton Xavier Co-op. Cap City down 2-0 early, but in the second, Cougars on the power play, and Olivia Thompson lights the lamp. Cap City cutting the deficit in half, but they did lose later on in the semifinals today. 3-1 the final score. They finished their season 14-8-3. WIAA state team wrestling quarterfinals going on as we speak. Top-seeded Stoughton looking for back-to-back state team titles this weekend. Here's a live look at the action from the field house. The Vikings taking on 8th-seeded Arrowhead right now, and if Stoughton wins, they could potentially face Kaukauna in the semifinals at 7:30, which would be a rematch of last year's semifinals. 8 Badgers will represent Wisconsin at the NFL Combine in Indianapolis this weekend. It's the most prospects that the Badgers have had at the Combine since 2012. 4 of those guys putting on their best display today in front of NFL scouts, the offensive lineman and Alec Ingold, the fullback. He's the only fullback at the Combine this year. By the way, David Edwards, Michael Dieter, and Bo Benchel all placing in the middle of the pack in the on-field drills portion. Former Badger center Joe Thomas on the NFL Network panel. He was impressed by the Wisconsin guys. He might be a little biased, obviously. Later this weekend, we'll get a look at the guys on defense. So here's hoping that there isn't a hangover from Wisconsin's double overtime loss at Indiana on Tuesday night. Second to last home game tomorrow at the Kohl Center, where the Badgers will host Penn State at noon. The Nittany Lions are 3rd to last in the Big Ten standings, and Wisconsin beat Penn State in Pennsylvania by double digits on January 6th. But the Nittany Lions have made some steady improvements, winning their last 3 games since then, last 3 games rather. And as evidenced by Tuesday's loss at Indiana, Brad Davison thinks that you cannot take any game for granted.
And that's the thing about the Big Ten. There is no easy games. Every game you got to show up. Doesn't matter if it's home or away. So we got to be locked in right from the start. There's got to be that sense of urgency. You know, the game's all about momentum, and they got a lot of momentum going right now. So we got to make sure that we start out fast and just play our game. You know, we think everyone knows kind of how their season's been going, but you know, it's about us too at this point. So we got to just stay confident and play our game.
Okay, so we got a lot of Bucks news tonight. First of all, head coach Mike Budenholzer named Eastern Conference Coach of the Month for February, and appropriately, obviously, Giannis named the Player of the Month as well for the East. The Bucks are in LA tonight playing the Lakers, and if they win tonight, they will clinch a playoff spot. Yep, on March 1st, they're clinching a playoff spot. And speaking of the Lakers, a former Laker is reportedly joining the Bucks. Center Pau Gasol, who is currently on the Spurs, agreed to a contract buyout with them. And, you know, he's got 2 NBA titles. He's got a lot of veteran experience. He's 38, so he could be a good veteran leadership role in the locker room, perhaps.
And it'll be Giannis against LeBron.
Yeah, that's going to be really fun. Yeah, that's going to be really fun to watch tonight.
All right, thank you, Melissa. Gary, final check?
Some snow right now across much of the northern 2/3 of our viewing area. Visibility right now, 1.5 miles in Viroqua, but elsewhere, even as far north as the Baraboo Dells Airport, 10-mile visibility. So the snow not coming down that hard. Winter weather advisory in effect for Juneau and Adams counties until midnight. Total snowfall about 1 to 3 inches. Most areas around 1 inch, but about 2 or 3 inches up toward the Dells. Temperatures right now upper 20s to around 30, and then bitterly cold air on the way for early next week.
Gary, thank you. Thanks for joining us at 6.
Have a great evening, and we'll see you back here at 10.